able to save the world is for people to realize that it's not, well, I'm, writing a check to the Nature Conservancy as charity and aren't I a great person? Or, well, I, am using green types of sustainable building for my house and aren't I such a wonderful person? But I'm doing all of these things because I have to. I'm doing all of these things because there's no other way. It's not, well, I'm a vegetarian because I really don't want to be one, but I know that I have to be one. It's, of course, there's no alternative. There's no possible way to be united with the world and to know the amount of devastation to people. I mean, just forget the animals, but to people, to the land, to the air, to the water, to the trees, to the entire planet from what we eat. So every single thing that we do becomes conscious, whether it's what type of coffee I buy, whether it's where I buy my clothes from, what type of clothes I buy, what type of food I buy, is it organic, is it non-organic, vegetarian, non-vegetarian. Suddenly these are not decisions to be made lightly like we're just, choosing between two different brands of jeans, but they're decisions for which there really is only one answer. In the same way that if a mother were sitting at a table and her child were starving, well, the mother would give the child her food. And if there were only one plate of food, there's no mother on earth that would eat that food across the table from her child who were crying and starving. And the only reason that we are able to do it is because we don't identify the starving children as our own. The only reason that we are able to continue living the way that we do is we don't identify the trees and the rivers and the air and the mountains and the land as us. And these borders and these boundaries and these false distinctions between different parts of the same being have to come down. And that's really, I think, what one of the core aspects of the spiritual path is a breaking down of these really random, artificial, and absolutely illusory borders between you and me and somebody else, and that person and the world, and me and the air, and me and the water, and me and the 40,000 children a day who are dying of starvation. We're one. And, your right arm is not going to take a knife and cut off the fingers of your left hand. It never would do it. It realizes, well, I'm all one body. You're not going to, find anybody slapping themselves silly in the face because you're all one body. You couldn't even do it. Even if you told yourself, slap myself silly. Your hand couldn't do it. You could never hit yourself as hard as you hit somebody else. Because we realize it's self. And that awareness of self has to start to expand beyond my skin and my bones and my clothing and my house and my family into realizing that we're actually one with the whole world.
In Indian philosophy, it suggests that in this world is Maya, all in this world is Maya, illusion. So if this life is an illusion, how does this impact the idea that we need to save or protect the world?
It's a great question. The world is not an illusion. This is it's so interesting, Janet. Indian philosophy is so deep and so complex that inevitably what ends up happening is when we take lines here and there from different places without having the great gift of being able to have a teacher who really can explain the full context of it, we end up with sort of a half-truth that ends up leading people down the wrong path. I've seen this happen many, many times with many, many people in many different circumstances, and this issue that you've just raised is a perfect example. The world is not an illusion. if it were an illusion, I could walk right through the wall. I mean, if the wall were an illusion, I would walk right through it. If my blood were an illusion, then simply letting it continue to, flow out of a gaping wound wouldn't affect me in any way. What is illusion is the fact that we are this body. The great Maya is the fact that, remember I had spoken a little bit earlier about the self being infinite, the self being one with the divine, and how it's trying to return to that state of boundlessness. What Indian culture says is that all of the selves are divine. We're all part of God, the same way that all of the drops of water are part of the ocean. That's really the best analogy that I've ever heard in terms of understanding the concept, is that there's the ocean, which is God, and then there's all these drops of water, which are part of the divine, and that's really what we are. And we're boundless and infinite and divine, just the way that God is boundless and infinite and divine. That's our nature. But what ends up happening is when the self, this drop of water, identifies as the body in which it has come, identifies as this vehicle. So I start to identify as this physical shape. It's like if the sun is reflecting into different vessels, different pots of different sizes and different shapes and different colors, you're going to end up with different reflections and different refractions based on the type of pot, based on the color of the pot, based on the shape of the pot. But the sun rays are actually all the same. And what happens with Maya is that those sun rays start to identify with the pot. I am like this. In the same way that our self starts to identify with the body. I am like this. So we say things like, I am angry, or I am tired, or I am sick, as though the body that was tired or the body that was sick is actually the self. And what ends up happening then is we start to become a slave to all of it. The body is tired, so we have to sleep. The body is hungry, we have to eat. The body's thirsty, we have to drink. The body's sexually excited, so we have to, have sex with whoever's around. The body, whatever it wants to do, because we've identified with it, then we become a slave to it. Whatever it wants, we have to fulfill it because it is me. And so if my hunger is not satiated, I am unfulfilled. If my thirst is not quenched, I am unfulfilled. If my sexual desires are not satiated, I am unfulfilled. And that's what the Maya is. The Maya is the false identification with the body, with the self, and with the surroundings. It's not that which we are seeing is an illusion. It's not like we're, looking at the world through some sort of funny glasses that are making things appear that don't actually exist. The real illusion of Maya, when they talk about it, is this illusion of the divine self, assuming that it's one with the body, assuming that this is the self. And so we start to identify with the pain of the body, the desires of the body, the aging of the body. We start to fear death. We start to do everything that we possibly can do to take care of this body, which in many ways is good. We need the body to be able to fulfill our mission. But that's why they say that the goal of the spiritual path is to break down that illusion. It's not to sit back and say, well, everything's an illusion, but to realize the illusion of the identification with the self. Does that make sense? Was I able to? It's
so beautiful, okay. And everything you've said today is just, as always, just profound and to the point, and simply put and just so clear for everyone listening. I know everyone who's on this call today is just feeling, and that's the word, feeling what you're saying. And Sadhvi, it's so beautiful. I interviewed Mata Amritanandamayi, the hugging saint, Amaji, a couple of years back, and one of the things she said to me was, she said, what the world needs more of are teachers. And then she looked at me and she said, and what I mean is, teachers who are living their teaching.
Yes.
And it's so wonderful to be with you today. It's such a beautiful reminder of what grace feels like, just to be with you. And we only have a few minutes left. It goes too fast, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's just too fast. And I was wondering if there was anything that you would, anything more you would like to share before we say goodbye.
Well, we've already done our official invitations to everybody to come to India.
And let me give out the URL to that. For all of you that are interested in coming to the International Yoga Festival, I'll be there. I'm actually bringing a tour of people there this year. And to find out more about the Yoga Festival, you can go to www.internationalyogafestival.com, www.internationalyogafestival.com. You can also go to Parmarth.com, Parmarth, and find out more about Puja Swamiji, Sadhvi, and what goes on at this wonderful, wonderful ashram, my very favorite ashram in all of Rishikesh, in the beautiful Himalayas. And if you're interested in joining me on my spiritual journey to India and including the Yoga Festival, you can contact me at janet@thepassiontest.com. Again, janet@thepassiontest.com. And just another word for the Yoga Festival. Just imagine yourself with hundreds and hundreds of like-minded spiritual beings and just taking one incredible course. You have just the most incredible array of different aspects of yoga that you can learn from all of these masters from around the world that come to the Yoga Festival. And you can sit in 1, 2, 5, 10 classes in one day, and then end your evening sitting on the banks of the Ganges with the beautiful, beautiful moon above, and experiencing the arti, this beautiful fire ceremony, and singing your hearts out. Imagine that wonderful, wonderful feeling that you're getting with Sadhvi, and multiply it 100-fold with everyone there, and just in that beautiful divine unity, and just everyone just so happy and so full. So I hope you will join us all. And Sadhvi, it's so wonderful to have you today.
It was so nice to spend the time with you.
I'm honored that you're here, and I can't wait to spend some time with you. And please make sure that you give Puja Swamiji my pranam and tell him I look forward to spending some glorious time with you and Puja Swamiji.
Absolutely.
And all of the masters and the feeling of Parmarth and what it exudes.
It was wonderful, Janet. It was really wonderful, and looking forward to seeing you and everybody here in March.
Me too, and I am so thankful. I mean, Sadhvi, it's so beautiful how the universe works. I mean, at Heathrow, it was backed up, and I can't even tell you. And it was so funny. I'm standing in this line. It was a huge line waiting to get on a plane to go to Germany. And all of a sudden, I thought, I need to go tell them that I need something. You know, that I felt like I needed some water because I'd been traveling so many hours. And it turned out I was in the wrong line, very far away from where I was supposed to be. And it was just as if a voice said, get out of the line. Chris had picked me up in Germany, and the airport had been closed earlier today. And we walked upstairs and got on our computers no less than, 2 minutes before the call. So I just love the support of nature and how it shows up when life is being lived right. And thank you so much for how you live your life, and as a divine example to everyone.